talk about GitHub Actions. We already introduced ourselves, but again, I'm Josh. I'm a full stack engineer. I work with Node.js, Go, Python, Dart even these days, and I've been traveling around the world for the past year, I think, just working remotely, which is pretty nice. I'm here in Japan for about 2 weeks. Not that long, but I hope to stay for 6 months. So I'm looking forward to it. Don't think I'll speak Japanese just as good as you will, but hope to learn a bit. Okay, so let's get started. So a little overview of what I've been talking about. GitHub Actions. What is it? So it's effectively a new tool that just got released 2 weeks ago. It just got out of beta. It got released in beta earlier this year. I don't know exactly when, maybe March. But since 2 weeks, it's been out of beta and publicly available to everybody. And it's an automation software, effectively. So you can use it to create CI/CD pipelines. You can use it for much more than that as well. Anything that can be automated, run on a computer, you can do with GitHub Actions in your repo. It lives inside of your repo. There's a new tab called Actions. It's not an external service. You can use it. The code is, everything is configured through YAML files, which live inside of your repo. So there's a little .github folder. So it's right next to your code. It's really easy to use. There's an online editor as well. They used to have this really nice, in the beta phase, they used to have this like visual no-code interface, but that's gone now. Now it's just an online YAML editor, which is still nice. Like, I'm a Vim user. I don't like GUIs that much, but it's pretty nice because it gives you suggestions and stuff, and there's like documentation on the side, so I would recommend using it. Oh, did we miss something? Yeah, so GitHub Actions, in GitHub's words, it automates your software development workflows. So let's dive into what workflows means, what they mean by that. And again, in GitHub's words, it's an automated process to build, test, package, release, or deploy a piece of code, which is a bit hard to understand. So I like to think about it as a collection of a series of actions, related actions. And workflows, they are triggered by events. And so you have one workflow, for an example, could be to deploy your application. That's a workflow. And they're triggered by events. And there's like, I think, 30 odd events that are available to use. And the list is growing. So there's going to be more and more. It's really, really good. I'll talk about it more soon. So a collection of actions. Let's dive a bit deeper into what that means, right? What is an action? Nope. Having troubles here. I'm sorry. Actions. So action is an individual job made up of one or more steps, related steps, effectively. So a deploy action could be step 1, get credentials, 2, install Helm, Docker, whatever, and 3, deploy. There's all related deployment actions. Actions run on Docker containers, and they are the single unit of configurability, and they can be shared with the GitHub community. In fact, you can just publish your action to the marketplace, and other people can just reference it with their username /action, the repo name, and it will just run just like that. So it's up to you. If you want to have a private action, you can just put it right inside of your repository as well, and then it was not shared to the community. Next, use cases. Like I mentioned before, CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery. It's really good for that, but you can use it to deploy an application, to publish to NPM if you have a module which you don't want to publish manually. I use it quite a lot for this, actually, to test and enforce code style. Make sure people are not committing code which is doesn't run well. yeah, so anything that can be automated that you would run on a computer, I would recommend checking out GitHub Actions for. Oh, yeah, that's right. Workflows, let's dive a little bit deeper about workflows. So, like I mentioned before, they are triggered by events. Many events. So there are webhook, anything in the repository on GitHub is an event. So your branch created, that's an event. Pull request opened, issue closed, commit pushed, pretty much anything. So like issues would be like issue opened, issue label attached to issue. There's so many different events, and you can listen to all of them and trigger your workflows depending on whatever you want. So that's quite powerful. So webhook events is one major way to trigger workflows. There's also schedule events, and it uses the same syntax. Yeah, question?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
For the cron job, does it default to the regular cron syntax? Or
Very much, yeah. If you're familiar with the cron syntax with the star,
okay.
the hour, minute, day, whatever. Yeah, exact same syntax. Hate it or love it, that's the way it is. But that's nice because you can like have a cron job running every now and then. And also, this is pretty interesting. I didn't know about this until recently. But any GitHub app that you attach to your repository, there's events for that. So all the events which the GitHub app also creates will be available as a trigger for
what
GitHub.
Can you give an example of GitHub?
Yeah, it could be like a third-party CI/CD tool. If you don't want to use one, you can use Jenkins or whatever. Those as well would trigger. Or you have a Slack notification or some kind of like code coverage or something. Yeah. So any events, you can respond to them and trigger your workflows. Okay. So in your repository, you have a .github folder. In that, you have a workflows, and you can list all your workflows within that. So this is an example of like a continuous CI, continuous integration workflow, which would just test your application, make sure everything's running fine. You can have another one for CD, deploy your application. You can have, notification.yaml to notify to Slack or something. Yeah, you can just make a whole bunch of them in your repository. Secrets. So, yeah, this is really, really useful because you don't want to be putting API keys inside of your repo. So there is a new tab as well in your settings of the repository for encrypted setting for secrets. So everything you attach there is all encrypted. You can't retrieve it again once you set it. It's done. They are pretty smart. They hide it from the logs. I think that's pretty standard and expected of anything. But it's available in the repo. Like I said, it's the general theme of GitHub Actions. It's all available in your repository. You never have to leave. And you can attach about 100 per repo. Yeah, so this is an example workflow. This would be like I said, deploy an npm JavaScript module. This is what your workflow would look like. So it's called publish. This would be like publish.yaml, for example. This is where you set up the triggers. So on push, and you can filter on the branches that you push to. So only when new commits are pushed to master branch will this workflow get triggered and start running. And then you can list up all your jobs. So I've only put one job here, but you can have more jobs there. You want to test the code before you publish it or build it, for example. This one, for the sake of brevity, I've just said. So they all start with runs on, which you specify which environment you want to run on, because you can run on Windows, Mac, or Linux, of course. And then env, you can set your environment variables here, and this is how you reference a secret which is stored in your repository with this special bracket syntax. Yeah?
The random parameter, is that the Docker container you want it to run on?
Yeah, effectively. Yeah, it's more than just so the way I understand it is it runs on a runner, what they call a runner, so a computer that they run on, and then they create a virtual environment on that. So the runner could be Windows, Mac, or Linux.
Can it be containers that you define yourself?
Yeah, very much. So I'll explain to that next. It's coming, actually. Action. No, it's fine. It's a good question. So yeah, this would just every single. This is all an action. So I'm actually ahead of myself. So this entire thing is a workflow. This part here are the actions. So you can reference an action over here. Say name my custom action over there, and I will run that. So every single job starts with this actions checkout, which pretty much just checkouts your repository in the virtual environment, so you can start using the code that's in the repo. Yeah. Am I done with? Yeah, I think I'm done with the workflows. So actions. Here we go. So you have two types of actions. The first one is a Docker container action. Everything runs. You can make custom actions with Docker containers, and you decide exactly which tools you want to introduce. Yeah.
Docker only for Linux machines, right? Because not for Windows environment.
You're right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's only for.
Windows.
If you run on Windows, I guess it's not a Docker container anymore. Yeah. It's actually a Windows virtual machine, which is not on Docker.
Right.
Docker only runs Linux, right?
It runs.
It runs on the machine.
Not well.
There are Windows containers nowadays.
Really?
Yeah, there are. But it's very limited.
Mm-hmm.
It's only .NET stuff.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
But yeah, there's a hard requirement for Linux if you create an action with a Docker container. So yes, that's true. It only runs on Linux. But since you're creating a Docker action container, you have the choice to choose any language that you want. You're not limited to languages that they support. It's consistent and reliable, but it's slow because it is slow because every single time the runner runs in the virtual environment, it also has to download your Docker container and launch that. So it's going to be a bit of an overhead. So it is slow, but like I said, it's consistent, reliable, and you can choose your languages, so it has advantages too.
Let's say for the most simple example you were giving, like what kind of time are we talking about?
It's fast. Like it's like I deploy apps in like 4 minutes with building, testing, and deploying to Kubernetes and Helm. So it's pretty fast. If you just want a simple deploy, the quickest, like I've deployed an application to Netlify within a few seconds. So it's fast.
Could you use your own images so that you prepare the images pre-environment to have the npm install?
Absolutely. So this is a custom image, and they all start. You can choose whatever. I started with Golang, so with Go. The convention is to use an entry point, and in the entry point you can run all your custom code over there. So when the workflow first runs, it will download your image, and then when it gets to your step, it'll start running your entry point. So yeah, you have absolute control.
And this Docker file has to be in the .github folder, is it especially named?
Yeah, exactly. So the .github folder, you have your workflows. You can create another. It can be anywhere in your repository, but the convention is to put it in an actions, .github Actions, and then you just put it into like a folder directory in there, and then you have at least a Docker file, an entry point if you need one, and action.yaml, where you specify some stuff. That's only needed if you share it. You actually don't need it. If it's a private action, no need. Just need these two things. Yeah, so the second type of action that you can create is a JavaScript action, native JavaScript Node. And this does not create a Docker container for your action. It runs straight on the virtual environment. The runner that is running all of this code that GitHub provisions you, this runs directly on that. And they have 3 different systems. So you can choose, in the previous slide when I said runs on Ubuntu latest, you can change that to Windows and Mac and run this JavaScript on those systems as well. It's super fast because it runs directly on the machines. There's no Docker overhead at all. But you're stuck with Node. So, which they both have their upsides and downsides, of course.
So when you say it runs on nodes, like, does it pull the dependencies by itself? Like when you need specific packages, or?
I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
So this is an example action in JavaScript. What you will need is the core for the actions, which is their own library. That's just to get information about the steps that's happening. There is another library, I forget. I haven't used it, so I didn't include it here. But they have two libraries: actions core and actions something else. But yeah, so actions can also like take inputs, and they can create outputs. So on every step, you can supply inputs to an action, and at the end, once it runs, you can create an output and send that back to your workflow. So that's kind of what this is happening here. It's getting input name, so you can input a name, and then later on, you can like output something else, message, for example. No, I'm not done yet. Yeah, I think I have a demo. There we go. Let me see if I can put this demo up. It's much easier to like see things in person. Like, we've been talking a lot about this, but if you have no way to visualize it, it's kind of useless. So I think seeing what it all looks like would be a bit helpful. But this might not work. I created this 2 a.m. last night, so I'm not sure if this will work. How do you increase the size here? What's your plus sign? Interesting. How do you increase the size over here? Sorry, I don't use this keyboard.
The menu there.
Oh yeah. That also
You have the.
That's it's over there.
Okay,
No.
that's fine.
Ah,
It's over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
True.
120 is fine. Can you read? Put more.
Yeah, that's good, I guess. So I've created this application, really simple application. It's just a Node app, and all it does is, this is very difficult. Basically, all it does is, Pug is an HTML templating language. It looks a bit like Python. It's all indent based. It converts to HTML. And write file is a native file system module for Node. It will just create a file with some data that you give it. So what we're doing here is creating a variable called beep, and then we are creating h1 HTML tag, which will say beep, effectively name. And so Node.js is famously all callback based. In recent, in recent releases, they've gone into promises. So now all the file system modules can now be used with promises. It's a new feature. So we want to have a pretty new release of Node. We don't want to use an old one, so we can make use of the promises file system modules. And all this will do is create an HTML file, and we should be able to if I deployed it correctly, then we should be able to no. Beep. So this is the output of that file. It creates a beep. And so here's the code, and if you see over here, this is your actions tab, and this is where basically all the actions that you run. You can see the failures were happening last night as I was trying to set this up. And you can go into them, and you'll get so this is one whole workflow. These are all the steps which are in that workflow, and you can get real-time logs. So it will pull out all the logs for you. and you can, I'm sorry, the scrolling is not working out that well, but every single step will have logs, and you can like filter on logs as well. Up here you can search your logs and everything, which is pretty nice. I think I had an example of a secret down here somewhere, maybe. Deploy site. I'll show you what a secret looks like. So yeah, the secrets over here are hidden from the logs, which is pretty nice. So the secrets are in the settings, and you can go to secrets, go down here, and add your secrets environment variables. It's really up to you.
And the secret is hidden from GitHub as well?
It's all encrypted, yeah, so GitHub has no way to, they can't do anything with it either.
You could print it, but
Yeah, if you're like, if you wanted to, you can do like echo. Yeah,
maybe.
but yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that. So yeah, this GitHub workflows, you can see this is exactly where the code lies. It's got a simple kind of workflow, and all it's doing is when I push to master, I wanted to use the Ubuntu. Here with this strategy, you can choose exactly which version of Node you would like it to run with. So we've set minimum 12. And then, like I said, everything starts with checkout. And then these are the actions that you have over here. So we have a build action, which installs npm, all the dependencies, and then like builds the actual HTML file. Then we have netlify, which is the host. We install their CLI tool to deploy. And then we have a deploy action, which will use secrets from the secrets tab and some other environment variables to deploy. So hopefully,
the strategy. And what is it for?
it's just to like give configuration for the virtual environment that it runs on. So
you don't have to do. You have to build it. I mean, because
no, you don't. You can take this out.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't need this. You don't need this part, and you don't actually need any of this. I just wanted to like show that you can specify the node environment that you want. So what this will do is if something is pushed to master, it will deploy the site, build the site, and deploy the site. So let's try and do this. Let's see if it works. So I have a PR ready, which, what does it do? It just changes beep to boop. So it said beep beep. Hopefully, if it deploys, it will say beep boop. Let's see. Let's merge this and see. All right. Now you can go to your actions, and you can see this is now running. Usually has a little animation. I'm not sure why it's not running right now. Yeah. And then it'll show you all the logs.
That's pretty fast.
It's pretty fast, yeah. It's already built the app. Like, second all done. App build was super quick. Now it's installing Netlify. And then hopefully it will deploy the site
That's the
too.
longest step.
Yeah. Exactly. NPM.
Bitbucket pipelines. You ever use that one?
I haven't used Bitbucket. I have used GitLab extensively. Yeah.
It's kind of similar, but yeah, with those things, you can have caching. I don't know if you can do that.
You can do it like this. You can have caching. You can have artifacts as well. So you can, share data between workflows if you want, and speed it up a lot faster. Definitely. Let's see. So beep boop deployed.
Oh.
Has it deployed?
Yes.
It's deployed. Okay. Cool. And that is all. Yeah. You saw the arigato slide, so that's it. Yeah, that's about it for me.
There's a quick question I think I asked you before this presentation, like how does it compare with like GitLab CI/CD, for example?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess it's not exactly the same feature set, but
It's very similar, right? It's GitLab, has a very good CI tool, and I've used it quite a lot. It really depends. If you're like already attached to GitLab platforms, then it totally makes sense to use GitLab CI. If you have all your code on GitHub, definitely use GitHub Actions. It really depends. It's vendor lock-in again. It really depends on where you have your code. But it makes sense to have GitLab figured this out a long time ago. It makes sense to have your automation exactly where your code is. So yeah.
Can you choose where to run? I mean, like the GitLab runners thing, is that possible here?
Custom runners.
So that you have run in your own company?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can specify your own custom runners as well. You don't have to use GitHub's runners. You can supply your own runners as well.
I see.
Yeah. Which is pretty nice if you're security minded.
Yeah, it's not just security. It's
Okay.
faster. I mean, if it locally, I mean, it depends, I know it could be images and stuff.
True.
It's much
True. Yeah.
more secure.
Yeah, I haven't played around with it, but I know it's possible. Yeah. Cool. Any other
and
questions?
everything is still free with it, right? On GitHub, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. It is free for all public repos, so you can use this, and there are limits. Obviously, you can't use it extensively. They don't want any long-running processes. They don't want any like mining bitcoins.
Bitcoin mining.
Yeah. But it's quite generous. There's a lot of like I haven't hit any limits so far. It's really generous, and you can use it. It's free for public repos. They do bill you per usage, but I don't know the specifics of how much right now.
So if you runners, then it would be expensive.
If you
run your own runners, then it would be cheap. You don't have to pay for every
exactly
action.
yeah exactly.
Only for computation.
So that's a good way. That's a good way to save money for sure. Is there anything else I wanted to mention?
So does it run on Azure when it comes to like all these virtual? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's all runs on Azure exactly. Yeah, Microsoft own GitHub. So yeah, they weren't gonna go with AWS. Yeah, it all runs. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's really a good. Oh yeah, I was talking to somebody recently, and they had a problem of they had a bunch of microservices, and they had a mono repo, which is a pretty common strategy for all your microservices. You don't want like 100 different repos. You put it all into one, and they were trying to figure out how to deploy things selectively. So if they had code pushed to one function, they didn't want to deploy all of the micro services. They wanted to do one. So they had some convoluted setup with like Circle CI. I recommended GitHub Actions, and I said you can create labels for all your PRs. So when someone creates a PR for a function, attach a label to that, and then check for that label when you deploy it, and then you can just deploy the exact service that you want. So these are some really good use cases for this. You know? Cool. That's all.
All right, thank you.
Nice. Thank you.